I'm also going to quickly react to this new video courtesy of the Danny from the Stop, where he sits down and interviews Rory from New Rory Moore Show. And the title of the video is something I'm interested to hear. Rory says he's never going back to the Joe Budden podcast. So I'm curious to hear his opinion, because it does seem like Joe does constantly snipe away and play with fucking Rory and make the impression that Rory wants to go back to the fucking JBP. And some fans out there hypothesize that if anybody was to go back, it would be Rory out of Moore. But I don't think people remember just how bad that breakup was. Like, they were actually real friends, and Joe did them dirty, right? Like, showing the accounting, I don't care about you. I don't care about my friends. I don't know what's that extra statement he said, something about like, I don't owe my friends respect. Like, really, really bad. It could have got violent. Like, you know what I mean? It ended in a really bad way. So I don't think they're gonna go get back together anytime soon. But let's play the clip and let's hear what Rory has to say about it.
I'm not going back on the old pod.
Why not?
I'm trying to figure out a way how to ask this question.
This almost feels like a bit of a waste of time, Danny, because I actually think you come up with great questions and like focus on certain things. You just want a weird clip right now.
No,
I'm not going back on the old pod.
But
what do you want from this? How do you want to have a real conversation? Because you know for a fact my answer was going to be no.
Yeah, but it's different in Spaces versus a podcast.
I even replied on Twitter when people were saying that. There's not a price. It's not. Yeah.
No, I'm with you on that. How do you feel about the fans being so fickle to the narrative once being that never allowed again, and then now the narrative
because podcast fans are fickle, because rap fans are fickle. Everyone on
they just respond.
By the way, I don't think podcast fans are fickle. I think it's Joe Budden podcast fans, because Rory hasn't been as combative towards Joe as Moore has. So they maybe like him a little bit more, because Moore's been really the one to kind of press the line about Joe's a thief, kind of insinuating he wants to slap him and shit. Like, he's made it very clear that they're not good at all. But Rory's kind of been a little bit more Switzerland about it. So it's understandable why the Joe Budden podcast fans are like, you know what, we always like Rory anyway, bring him back. Because a lot of people think Moore is lazy. They think he's a bare minimum guy and shit, doesn't bring much to the table. Towards the end of their time anyway, to be completely fair, towards the end of their time on a Job on a podcast, I was on the Reddits, I was on the Spaces, I was really there with the fans. I do remember a lot of people criticizing Moore and saying that his kind of performances or his whatever on the pod weren't up to scratch. They're a bit lackluster. He wasn't really giving it up, as they like to say. He was being a little bit, coy, a little bit whatever. Maybe it was because, they were obviously falling out behind the scenes. But a lot of the Joe Budden podcast fans don't really rate Mo like that, really. So it's understandable why they would be opining or trying to, kind of warming towards the idea of Rory getting back on the show.
The timeline is just fickle on what's going on at the moment. I've watched the old JBP fans turn on me, be my friend. I've seen it all. Like, I don't expect anything from fans. I appreciate people that listen, even when they saying wild shit. But no, I'm not. No, they just following the narrative that their A mic is telling them. Like, that's fine. But I'm not going back on the old pod. I have moved past that entire thing, and I wish the best for everybody there. Like, I actually really I wish everybody the best. Everybody over there,
of course.
Shout out to my frat brother. Like, everything.
Mark,
yeah. Like, I don't. No, I'm not going back. I think it's a funny narrative, but
yeah. Because sometimes when you don't say it, it feeds the narrative on. Yeah. That's the reason why I wanted to bring it up.
No, I hear you. No, I just don't know what you want out of that question.
He's coming back. They're warming it up for him. I'm like, he said it multiple times, but nobody listens.
Like, it would be a big moment, is all. So that's why I kind of have to. If the podcast ended tomorrow, what would your legacy in the space be?
But big moment for what, though, really? I don't know. Like, both shows have suffered, right? The Joe Budden podcast isn't as good anymore without Rory and Moore. Rory and Moore podcast isn't as good without Joe Budden. So the shows have suffered, even maybe Parks, who's a bit of a fucking Joe Budden fucking ball washer. But they've all suffered from the breakup. But they've all landed on their feet to a certain extent. People like the Rory and Moore pod isn't as messy as the Joe Budden podcast. The Joe Budden podcast is still messy, entertaining as it once was, but just with a different sort of like flavor with a different host. If you like that, go listen to it. If you don't, listen to something else. But I don't think they're going to gain anything, these people, from being on the show together again. Plus, when they were on the show the first time round, it was under the premise that they were friends. I think with so much stuff happening and with them actually being friends at one time, it's going to be hard to fake it. I don't think they can. I think if you start off the pod, if you start off your show being like fake friends, I think you could kind of work back to that area. But if you were real friends at one point working together, it's going to be pretty difficult to do the whole fake fame thing just for the sake of the show. It won't last. So it's probably for the best that they just go their separate ways.
Podcasting?
No, but like
changing the entire.
What about your
thing?
style? Because I feel like of that era, of the classic era of the Joe Budden pod, like there's like archetypes that are now ingrained. Like the producer off mic, like there's everybody who has a Parks. There's everybody who has the white friend. There's a cool guy.
Now to be serious, I think
it's really true though. It's actually true. Everybody chuckled at that. You're an archetype. Exactly. You're a fucking avatar, innit? For lack of a better term, you're an NPC, a podcast NPC. The cool guy, the fucking loudmouth hoary girl, the funny dude, the stoner, the doofus of the group, right? Like there's always the bimbo. Like God Almighty, that's so true. Big up, Danny for the stop.
Think what all program
Wagwan Uj
directors and podcast networks are looking for is what we actually did in the beginning. Like before, this is not a shot at Brilliant Idiots or anything, but you know, Schultz and Charlemagne met in work. Like this was something that was not put together per se, but I felt we were the first like real friend podcast. What everyone was trying to get to right now is what we were at that time. So yeah, I think we defined that entire thing. I don't know if there's another podcast before us. I mean, what's damn, I'm sorry for forgetting, even though she shits on me all the time. Crystal and
Chris? I don't know that.
Oh, Crystal.
The Reed?
The Reed.
Yeah.
I mean, the Reed, I don't know their history. So, like, I don't want to say that maybe they were friends before and they weren't put together by, you know, what Combat and everyone was trying to do at that time. And I respect the Reed. Even though they shit on me, I respect everything they did for the genre.
Huge.
But, yeah, the Reed is incredible.
Yeah,
but,
amazing.
I think we were what every single advertiser and network tries to pitch out to the world.
And that's true, but as fans, you're rooting for them because they're all like they all kind of like didn't make it, like in a way. It's just, that's all the part of the fun as well. Joe Budden kind of didn't make it in music. Moore was the brother of Biggs. He was an instrumental part in Rockefeller, but he didn't really do nothing prominent in the industry. Rory was trying to make it himself as a musician and a fucking manager and producer type person, but he hadn't really made it. So you're kind of rooting for them to win on the pod because as a fan, you knew if the pod became successful, they could segue some of that fame into other areas, like how I'm trying to do with my thing, right? With Taz and this thing, right? I get to a point where I fucking glow up and my numbers get really fucking crazy. Then I can use that to just get myself booked in all these clubs I want to play in, you know? Obviously, I'm still fucking sick at what I do, but it won't really matter whether or not I'm a good DJ or not because the numbers will kind of like let me jump up a certain level because they want to, you know, bring my quote-unquote audience along with the ride on that fucking area. So that's kind of why you kind of was rooting for them because you knew in the end, if the pod was successful, all their dreams would come true as well. And it was kind of cool to kind of see that play out. But then when it kind of transpired or when it kind of came to a head that, oh shit, maybe the friendship wasn't as real as you thought it was, or maybe Joe kind of purposely made the friendship not what it was so that those guys would turn and then he could kind of keep the money for himself. It was like, fuck, man. All the things that were done wrong to Joe Budden, his music career, by the record industry, he repeated exactly the same things and did the exact same things to his actual friends, which is like hard to fucking stomach. Like, fuck, man. Like, you know, as they say, like, what you call it? Money corrupts, innit? Money fucking corrupts.
The friends who pod.
Controversial take. Like, all that bullshit is really what we were.
Everybody sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
I would argue that even the setup of like
podcast studios,
based for sure. Yeah, that was
definitely y'all.
And I mean, I wouldn't say that was like something we planned. We were in the middle of, the shit when we were in Jersey. I mean, I'm not gonna speak on that gentleman's situation, but we had to get the out of that studio.
Hey, let's relax. Let's relax. By the way, there were a ton of pods before the Joe Budden podcast. Let's relax, as in like they were responsible for the term podcast. Like let's relax a little bit with the glazing. Let's relax.
And we was just in Park's basement, like like it wasn't like some like, oh, we're gonna try to do this ill basement to make it feel cool. Like, nah,
let me get it out the mud.
It was legitimately some organic. Like, all right, well,
we just go shoot
Park's a great engineer.
Basically, yeah.
Like we was trying to use our resources at that time. So yeah, I think everything that people try to fake now is what we were.
No, it definitely kind of looked like that because those early podcasts in the basement, it made
that's a good point though about the fake thing, isn't it? Like it did feel real because they were real. Joe Budden's not gonna accept it and say they weren't friends. I don't give a fuck. I'll do what I want. But we know it was real. The friendship was real. They loved each other. They hung out with each other a lot. Like I used to live for the updates of what they got up to on the weekends. Who got really smashed? Who tried to approach what girl? Who did that? Who lost their wallet? Like it was because they can clearly hang out with each other. They went for dinner together and shit. So it was a shame it ended the way it did, man. It's a shame it ended the way it did. And to be honest, I think that set a precedent. They also started the trend of people falling out on pods over money. If they're going to accept all the positives, I feel like they have to accept the negatives. They also started the trend of the podcast person who thinks they're the main person scumming the co-host. People keeping money. People not paying people. Or not paying them fair. Like, they started the whole thing. I'm not going to lie. They started it.
Park's basement look a lot smaller than what it probably really was because of how tight the angle was for how you had to fit you guys.
That shit was just as small as... And okay. I know how people... I know Rory takes shots at Parks.
No.
That was a small-ass living room. Like,
shout out to that 400K. Leveled up.
It looks interesting because I remember they went back to the old studio and like the cameras were so high quality it looked odd. Like it felt like a distorted.
Well, there was two Parks. There was the original one and then his. I don't know where he lives now.
Yeah, that one's different. But even that one.
Oh, I don't know where he lives now. Damn, man, you hear that little line? I don't know where he lives now. Heartbreak, man. They haven't spoken. They probably haven't spoken to each other since that episode where Joe was barking at the empty chairs. You know. They probably haven't spoken to each other directly since that episode. They don't know nothing about each other's life. Zero. It's always sad that happens. Even like relationship breakups. You go from living with somebody, being literally in someone's pocket, swapping spit, hanging with each other at all times, and then suddenly, bang, they disappear, and you sometimes get to a point like I do sometimes because I'm really toxic, where you might even forget their name. There are some exes that I have, I don't even remember their names, I swear on my life. I did that whole fucking archive delete thing, or delete and archive. You know? Empty fucking recycle bin. You purposely do that to kind of deal with the heartbreak of it. But then you sit there and you think, shit, I don't even remember their name. Like I memory hold them. I retcon them so much, I don't remember their name. I have no idea what they fucking get up to now. What's the deal is? No idea. Yo, big up M-Dust. Big up M-Dust in the chat. Wagwan M-Dust. Big up Big Booth. Big up Jordan Ray. Big up Uche. Big up Mrs. Do Your Girl. You know what? We've got about 50 people in here today. Let me actually be generous because today is a members only stream. If you want to chat, you have to be a member. So become a member. Click the link in the description. Gift the membership. All that good shit. And it's only going to be available to rewatch for the members only to watch. But I'm going to be a nice guy. I'm going to be a nice guy and see if I can gift the membership right now to 5 lucky people who are currently watching and can't chat. The ones that are on the outside looking in, eh? The ones who can't get in because they don't have any ID. The ones who don't have any ID, the ones that are looking through the gates, wondering if they're going to be able to get in. I'm going to gift some membership. Let's see. Let's see. Yes, I can gift a membership. Nice. I got it available. So let me gift a membership to 2 people. Lucky people. Last gifting of the month. I think you get like 10 for the month. So big up everybody that receives their gifted membership in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Let's fucking go. Big up the people that get gifted memberships. If you get them and you enjoy, make sure you give me a pat on the back. Okay? Give me a pat on the back. If you got a gifted membership, give me a pat on the back. All right? Give me a pat on the back.
Powerful bunch.
The one that was after that one still seemed odd, but I love that you're getting at the idea of organic potting because I feel
just now I'm getting at it.
Not the last how many years?
On his toes and perfect.
Powerful bunch.
You gotta love Rory. Just now I'm getting it. Oh, bless.
Person, man.
I was just trying to do a commentary about how so much of podcasting relationships are fake. Like I remember
Powerful bunch.
And finding out Deezus and Merrill didn't really meet in high school, and they were just put together.
Oh, did they not?
Nah, I think they like
yeah, they're not real.
Yeah,
they were put together by a producer.
Twitter influencers.
Oh, I really didn't know that.
Yeah,
I'm dead ass.
Yeah,
That's why I was sad.
Powerful bunch.
Figured they went to like Lehman High School together. Some shit.
That's what I'm saying. It was like
Wait, see, I didn't even know that.
It was like
that's real.
Kane.
No, I don't think. To be fair, the Dean Zamiro thing is different because maybe they gave the impression that they were old school
Powerful
friends,
bunch.
but they were still quite close. You know, yes, it's heartbreaking that they weren't school friends, but during the process of doing that show, they were really close. Now, did I believe they hung out with each other? No, because from early on, Miro's always had a wife, innit? He has a wife. He has a bunch of kids. He's Dominican, so I think he's got like 4 kids or something already at his young age. So I'm assuming, and I think he lived in Jersey. Like, it's not really likely he's going to be hanging out with fucking Jesus. So I wasn't really ever believing the narrative that they were putting out, that they were hanging out with each other all the time. But I was heartbroken to learn that they didn't really fuck with each other like that outside the show, you know? That's one thing I was like, oh shit, you know? They kind of tolerate each other. That was a hard thing to kind of stomach.
Being actually like finding out as a kid he wasn't buried alive in Undertaker's house, like it destroyed me.
I mean, but that's been entertainment for our entire lives with everything from music to entertainment. Is that big of a surprise to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Being performative.
It was what?
Being performative.
I think with y'all, the old pod, it felt like y'all was actually cool. Like it didn't feel like a fake dynamic, which was what was dope.
But I mean, Dean Zamiro though, like sometimes it works if you're put together. And again, I don't know their whole back history. I really assume they just went to like Lehman High School. But yeah, that sometimes it works. Like I don't know, shit. Even when Star was on, Miss Jones, all that, like sometimes program directors can put together something that works with chemistry.
Yeah, that's true. I don't really give a fuck if the people together aren't friends or not. I just want the show to be funny. I said previously, I want podcasts, I want shows online in general. If they're not news in the comedy space, to be just funny, you know, be fun hangs. As long as the people on the stream, on the show, are fun hangs together, and they kind of get that feeling across to you, the viewer, that's all well and good. Don't care if it's production or not. Just be a fun hang. That's it. That's fucking it. And if you possible, work through your issues. Like, so far, I feel like in the black space, in the urban space, I don't think there's a single podcast where there's been an issue that has not led to the split of the show. I don't feel like I've seen a single show where there's been issues and they've been able to walk it back. They've been able to fucking reconcile. They've been able to fucking powwow, meet, whatever, away from the camera, and then kind of come back and do the show. Every time some form of disrespect or a slight happens, or somebody feels like they're not getting paid or whatever, or to someone, it always leads to somebody leaving, which then affects the fans like myself, because then the show that you loved is no longer the show that you love because one person's now left. Then suddenly another person follows that person, and then you've got a competing podcast. Now you have to split your attention between two. It's like, fucking hell. Please, can't we all just get along?
Yeah, I just thought
that's actually most of the time. Like,
it was a great pod though, so I can't be mad at the outcome. But it was just sad for me to think about how like they were the stereotypical New York pod, and it wasn't. Like, it felt like a commercialization of the New York brand. I'm gonna put these guys with a Yankee hat. I'm gonna put them together, and then they're gonna pretend to be New York and talk about chopped cheese.
Listen,
in Timberlands, yeah.
I feel y'all, because I mean, even when Dean Zamiro were together, in respect to both of them, I used to publicly say like, yo, not everyone in New York wears Timbs. Like, I hate a lot of these very stereotypical New York jokes, but they worked and they were entertaining. That's why I didn't like. I guess who cares at that point? If it's entertaining, who cares?
I think when you find out the backstory, it becomes like,
yeah,
it's not that big a deal
why?
because it was a good pod.
I guess that's why I'm asking. Like, if you were entertained, who really gives a?
Because there's a difference between somebody like a Wendy Williams and a Charlamagne coming together and having great chemistry, where you know it's a working relationship, versus two people who have a great working relationship.
Yeah, to be fair, they got a point. They were trying to sell Dean and Zamiro like they were best friends, when in actuality, I think they became very close because they did the show together. But then obviously there came a time where they weren't close anymore. But I feel like they came close. They were quite close on the show. It's like when you have a really close colleague at work. You might not hang out with each other outside of work, but when you're in work, you're inseparable. So I think that was the case. But the smart people behind it, maybe Red Bull Studios, whoever was behind it, somebody clever decided not to clarify anything and give the impression that they grew up together. Like they went to the same high school, they went to the same college. It wasn't the case. You know what I mean? There were two very funny people online. They were two kind of quote unquote Twitter influencers that made funny jokes, and they kind of had this similar type of humor. They were from New York, two different walks of life. I think it worked. You know what I mean? It's just that selling it as a real friendship was a little bit weird. But am I complaining? Not really, because I think in the end we still got a great show. Yo, big up Queso Moses, big up Young Old Vibes, big up Queen, Young Old Vibes, big up Jack Donny Jr., big up Horde Trado, big up Crash 1984. Who's this? Cloud 7315. Big up everybody in the stream chat. I appreciate you. Bang your door, smash the like, hit subscribe, all that shit.
But they make it seem as if they were really cool. There is like a level of deception for the audience watching.
Okay, but even like, all right, based off our old pod, yes, that was really what was happening. The friends just kicking it.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus and Mero were with Bodega Boys. I never felt like, oh, these are two best friends from like, no, it was just a great entertaining podcast. I didn't get into their backstory. I was just entertained. I can see where people attach themselves to, I'll name this podcast later, and JBP when we were there, because they felt like they were on that entire journey. But even when I was listening to Bodega Boys on SoundCloud, like, I never thought like, okay, these are like two best friends for their entire life type of thing. They was just funny.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't tell that type of story to me, I guess. Maybe I wasn't as tapped in as you guys when it came to Bodega Boys, but I think it's apples and bowling balls with how our pod came across and how theirs did as far as the true friend type of thing.
No, he makes a point. Makes a good point. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to play the whole clip. So if you want to check out the whole clip, there's about, 3 minutes or so, 4 minutes to go. Check it out there. It's on Danny from the Stops channel. You see that there. Rory has never going back to the Joe Budden podcast and talks about legacy of the JBP. Let me give him a like. Great fucking channel. Check him out. Does great stuff. Does great stuff.